I had been practicing for several years before I started living in monasteries full time. I had already been practicing for a while. And because I had been a yogi for many, many, many years before I took up Zen practice, I had spent a lot of time brain training. Right? Yoga is a meditation on the breathing body. So I had already spent countless hours for years and years training that, right? And and yet there were still areas of my life, important areas of my character and my feelings and the story I tell myself about my identity, my relationship to other people in the world, that seemed very cloudy and where I was still running into a lot of difficulty and causing a lot of suffering and experiencing a lot of suffering. And so there was a disconnect for me there. I was like, well, what's going on? Why am I concentrating so mindfully, but not producing insight? And then when I started living in the monasteries full time and had the ability to like kind of literally practice all day if you want to, like there's no cell phone, there's a lot of the environment. I mean, you can still sit there and daydream. Like you don't have to practice. But if you enjoy it and you want to do it, the environment is very, very conducive. And so you start to end up, at least I did, having some days where you practice for the whole day. Where from the minute you wake up in the morning, like the first, and you're sitting there on the edge of the bed and you're feeling your feet one foot at a time touch the floor. And you're feeling yourself take those first few breaths. And you drop anchor, and you kind of say to yourself, like, I'm going to pay attention with love all day today. And you do. And when I started having experiences like that, I noticed this like irresistible pull to anything creative. Oh, I started taking pictures. I started getting into photography. I taught myself how to calligraphy, a couple of different hands. I started watercoloring, and like learning from tutorials and books, like just bought a bunch of paints and started watercoloring and painting. I was writing poetry. It just happened, right? It was an explosion of creativity. And inside of that, as that was happening, because that lasted for years and years, I started to notice that the things that I had been holding, the things that I had been so deeply concentrated on, that I had just been looking at exactly the same way over and over and over again. Because the bridge between deeply looking and having fresh insight is creativity. No matter how deeply I look, if I am not strong enough, if I don't feel safe enough, if I'm not calm enough to be creative, then I'll just keep saying the same thing over and over and over again. I'll just keep agreeing with myself. Right? I'll tell myself a story, I'll see myself tell it, and I'll just agree. And so nothing changes and I don't learn. But what I have found is that if we continue practicing over long periods of time, all of a sudden we look one day and the thing has changed. Because we're calm enough and comfortable enough and strong enough in our brain training to really be paying attention to it with love. And in that spaciousness is the room for creativity, is the room for a fresh insight, a new view. A new view. So that'd be one way to answer your question, Will, is that all insights come by walking down that path in that direction. Thanks.